When you want to explain and you don't want to fight, put on your favorite podcast, Not Quite Right. Hi, it's Not Quite Right.
Yes, it is.
And this is a podcast where we explain things to each other, and then we explain them back to each other, and sometimes we're wrong, and sometimes it's funny, and the results are educational and awesome.
I'm Brooke.
My name's Casey.
Yep, that's us.
All right. So let's get down to business. If you're not following us on Twitter, you probably should. It's at NQR_podcast. Also, not enough of you are giving us ratings. I know this because we don't have any, and that's how people find new podcasts. So like for the 20, 30 people who are listening to this, if all of you give a rating, tell 5 of your friends to give ratings, and 5 of their friends to give ratings, you can get in on the ground floor of the Not Quite Right empire. All right? You develop your downline, and look, this is a once-in-a-lifetime podcast opportunity. We're a small operation right now. We're literally running this out of our front room, and you know what? You want to be a part of this, and I want to help you out, but you got to help me first, all right? So give us a rating.
This sounds suspiciously like a pyramid scheme.
No, it's the good kind. Anyway, we're going to talk our topics. So
wait, hang on. The good kind of pyramid scheme?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure that I was on the same page there.
No, this is the kind that works.
Okay.
All right.
Well, don't send us your money because that's not what we're asking for because pyramid schemes are illegal.
Oh, dude, yeah, totally send us money. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
But do follow us on Twitter and definitely leave us a rating and subscribe and all that good stuff.
All right, so we're going to do our topics now.
Topic number 1.
It's my turn to go first this week.
It's your turn to go first.
I want you to tell me about, and then I will tell you about, following the which you tell me of the thing that you probably don't know that much about because I just know you don't. Why don't you tell me about the United States Football League?
The United States Football League was at some point owned by Donald Trump. That's right? Okay, I literally only heard about this for like the very first time in the last week or two. Like it was brought up on a podcast maybe. I can't even remember which one it was. But somebody brought up the US Football League and how it was like just another football league, like the NFL, but not. Like I guess it kind of sucked. I don't really know a ton about it except for like these guys brought it up on a podcast. It may or may not have been Reply All. I really don't remember. That's
actually pretty good. You knew more than I thought you would.
But that's exactly how much I know about the United States Football League. That's hilarious.
All right. Well, yes, there is a Trump connection. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
I'm sorry to have to subject people to this, but you know what? It came to my mind, all right? So the story of the United States Football League begins in about 1983. With a businessman named Dixon. David Dixon from New Orleans. And he was a man with a plan, and that plan was to form a football league. This was at a time when the NFL was a world-conquering juggernaut like it is today. But it was also in a little bit of a lull because 1982 there had been a strike-shortened season, and this Dixon fellow sensed an opportunity to compete with the NFL, but not directly. So he formed a plan to have a 12-team league that would play, unlike the NFL, which plays in fall, winter, this league would play in spring, summer. So it would be a supplement to the NFL, and it would be run according to what he felt were sound principles, including a salary cap and good wage structures and smartly targeted cities, intelligently targeted cities, I guess is what you would say. If you were if you were smart.
You mean if you were intelligent?
Right. Yeah, and he attracted enough investors and interest to get this league off the ground for 1983. Among the owners, this is a fun tidbit, was a partial owner of one of the teams was Burt Reynolds, who owned stake in the Tampa Bay Bandits.
Tampa Bay Bandits?
The Tampa Bay Bandits.
That's interesting.
So the United States the United States Football League, the newly christened United States Football League, played its inaugural season in 1983, and it achieved some really success in terms of the on-field product. It was, from all accounts anyway. I've never watched it. I don't know. I think I've watched a couple of YouTube clips. Apparently, it was pretty decent though. They had some decent coaches. They got some good young players drafted, and it was not a joke. It was a real honest-to-God football league with real football that was being played, apparently. And they had some early success, in particular with targeting the Sun Belt, cities like Phoenix and Jacksonville, where they're now NFL teams. The USFL was a trailblazer in getting franchises there, as well as franchises in places like Boston, New York, Chicago, some of the traditional markets. So they deliberately targeted the largest media markets to get the biggest market share. Now, there was always a struggle in some markets of getting fans to root for these newcomers when, why are you going to root for the Denver Gold when you've got the Broncos, who are already a perfectly good football team?
Exactly.
But that was always a challenge. But there was some initial optimism about the product. Now, there was a lot of turmoil in the early league with owners struggling to turn a profit. Some couldn't find stadiums or venues. There was some turf wars with NFL franchises as well. And franchises, over the course of the couple of years that the league was in business, there were some franchises that were sold and resold and located and even merged with each other. For example, the Boston franchise, the Breakers, moved to New Orleans and then later moved to Portland. So they had 3 homes in 3 years. The Arizona franchise, the Arizona Wranglers, at one point, I don't know the story exactly behind this, but their owner sold them. Meanwhile, the owner of the Chicago franchise, the Blitz, sold that team or something. And the new owners, just because they could, I guess, maybe they wanted to change the scenery, they decided to basically swap franchises. So they sold.
Okay.
So they traded all their assets to each other. So the former Blitz became the Wranglers.
And the former Wranglers became the Blitz?
Yeah, they just changed shirts and moved across the country, I guess. And then eventually the Wranglers merged with the Oklahoma Allies and became the Oklahoma Outlaws, and they became the Arizona Outlaws. So that gives you a sense of the kinds of difficulties that the owners were facing. The salary cap structure broke down as well pretty quickly. Owners found a way around it, which led to... It was sort of a double-edged sword because it led to bidding wars between players and escalating salary costs.
Right. Which
actually allowed them to lure some pretty big-name players into the league and some hot young free agents. And, I don't know if you've heard of a couple of these guys. I don't know if you've heard of Herschel Walker. You would have definitely heard of Steve Young. He was drafted.
Indeed.
Yeah, actually the largest contract in professional football history at the time. He was awarded as a rookie. Reggie White, who went on to be a Green Bay Packer legend type player. Jim Kelly as well. He got his start in the USFL. He went on to play for Buffalo, played in a couple Super Bowls. So the USFL had a respectable on-field product, some behind-the-scenes issues. Okay, enter. This is the part of the story where Donald Trump enters. Again, that's the moment we're living in. I got to talk about it. It was 1985. He took ownership of the New Jersey Generals, and he was a brash young serial sexual harasser, businessman, and he wanted a piece of the pie. So he helped to escalate the bidding war that was already going on. The franchise, the unequal pay structures between the franchises. Trump kind of exacerbated that, and he also, as far as what I've read anyway, he sort of spearheaded the vision of wanting to compete more directly with the NFL. And what that meant for him was playing in the fall. So rather than competing separately with them, he wanted to go head-to-head with them, literally. So he lobbied very hard to get the league in direct competition with the NFL, which was a big risk-reward thing. And in the end, he won the day. He convinced enough owners, I think they voted 12-2, to move to the fall. And they were scheduled to do that for the 1986 season. In addition, the USFL also filed an antitrust suit against the NFL for $1.7 billion, alleging that the NFL was engaged in anti-competitive practices and had deliberately excluded the USFL and basically tried to make it unable to do what it is.
They tried to say that it was a monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it was.
Right, it still is.
Yeah, and it was a very expensive lawsuit. And meanwhile, the league was essentially banking on either winning that lawsuit and getting a big judgment, or, and this is where the shady part of the story comes in, there's a lot of talk that what Trump in particular wanted, and some owners went along with him, was they didn't they wanted to sue their way into the NFL. Essentially, the NFL was, and I think to some extent still, is kind of a good old boys club of owners. Trump wanted in; they didn't want him. But through a backdoor, if he could get a competitive product with the NFL, he could force a merger. Essentially, get the NFL to try to take on a couple USFL teams, and then he's in the club, and then he's in the big time.
Right.
Well, what actually happened was the USFL won the lawsuit, and the jury agreed with them that the NFL was anti-competitive and had engaged in, monopolistic practices. But they rejected the claims that the USFL had been financially hamstrung by the NFL. So they awarded a verdict, or a judgment, rather, of $1. That was bad for the league. The league was counting on that money. They'd also actually expanded from, I think, 14 to 18 teams, just basically to pocket the franchise fees, to have enough money within the league to keep it going another year.
Right.
That didn't exactly work out. And the league, once the judgment came in, and the league was bankrupt at that point. They had no money to start the 1986 season. They were just dead in the water. And so it collapsed. And from there, where I learned about this story first is there's an awesome 30 for 30 documentary. It used to be on Netflix, maybe it still is, about the USFL. I think it's called Who Killed the USFL. And at one point they quote Trump at the time saying, small potatoes, doesn't matter. So he walked away from it. He's fine. He's a rich asshole. And he went on to the casino business in Atlantic City, where he failed spectacularly. And, enough about that. And that was the story of the USFL. Apparently, from what I've read, only maybe one owner made money the entire time in the league, and that was actually the guy who owned the Denver Gold, who sort of saw the writing on the wall as pays kept escalating, costs kept escalating, and sold out. So at least one guy made a tidy profit. The original guy who started the league, David Dixon, got so disillusioned a couple years in that he sold his stake and got out. And everybody else, a lot of people lost money, mostly rich people, so I guess I don't feel too bad for them. But that was the USFL. They had some big names in there. Besides the players I mentioned, they had coaches like George Allen, Lee Corso, now of College Game Day fame, Steve Spurrier, and some pretty significant innovations for people who know football. They introduced the 2-point conversion to the professional game, replay review, which is everybody's favorite part of the NFL.
My favorite part.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I wish it took longer. It's so great. That was one of the USFL's innovations. Huh. And then some of the coaches introduced, for example, the run and shoot offense, which is a kind of pass-happy, shotgun-based, chuck it around, throw it offense, which you still see a lot of elements of in the modern NFL. That originated to a large extent in the USFL with, who was it? Mouse Davis, I think, was the coach who started that. So that was the United States Football League. It's kind of a cool story. And, setting aside its sort of seedy associations with certain political upstarts, it's kind of cool that it existed, I guess. One wishes maybe it stuck around longer and maybe became a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have to say, I'm surprised that we brought up Steve Young and didn't talk about the time that you accidentally stole his credit card.
Yes.
This is a true story, folks.
Back in my thieving days.
No, Casey worked at a fast food place in Provo, which, if you know who Steve Young is, he's a famous player who played at BYU.
It's a Utah place.
And he came through the drive-thru, and Casey took his credit card to, swipe it, and then forgot to give it back.
No. He came in, he'd ordered ahead, he'd called ahead, and he came in to pick up his stuff. He did this periodically.
Oh, okay.
And he had a big order, so he was dealing stuff. I'd swiped his card and, was trying to, get chips together or something, and then we got his stuff, and he walked out, and I still had his card. And
I thought it was the drive-thru.
No, it wasn't the drive-thru.
I thought you told me it was the drive-thru.
Nope. And
I guess I was not quite right more about that than I was about the USFL.
Yeah, and that's the time I stole Steve Young's credit card.
On accident.
And we happen to have someone who knew him or knew his family or something who got it back to him. Anyway, I should have probably done fraud with it, but I don't know how to do that. And
I'm pretty sure that all you have to do for fraud is just take the card and like go buy things with it, right?
Yeah. Hi, I'm legendary NFL quarterback Steve Young, and I'd like to buy 12 TVs, please.
Definitely doesn't arouse any suspicion.
Yep, that's
at
what I
all.
should have done. Also, I was like 24. Well, anyway, that's that.
Okay.
And we're back from the break, and we've gained some insight. So kick back, sit back, not quite right. Okay.
Okay, so this is the experimental episode where we're testing out Casey having more qualities of Elliot Kalin.
This is really it. I've been listening to too much Flophouse.
Please don't listen to that much Flophouse. I mean, the Flophouse is fine, but don't overdo it to the point where you're making up theme songs for things. No offense to Elliot Kalin. Not that he would ever actually listen to this, but if he does, hey there, Elliot Kalin. Thanks for listening.
This is not going to become a thing. I'm just tired.
Okay. Anyway, so my topic actually has a little bit to do with the NFL, but we'll get to that in a second. My topic is a popular dance move known as the dab.
Known as the dab.
So tell me about the dab.
Well, you cock your one elbow at an angle. This is terrible podcast. This is bad radio. But anyway, you have one. Okay, you extend one arm outward,
right,
to the side. You cock your other arm in like a triangle, and then you stick your face in it, and that's the dab. At Cam Newton dabs. That's why.
Right. Well, and that's where the NFL comes in.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that or when they started. I don't know much. Most of what I know about dancing is from Land of a Thousand Dances, which is a very old song.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the one that's, I can mash potato, I can mash potato, I can do the twist.
Oh, yes. Okay, I totally do know that. Anyway, this is definitely much later than that. So, the dab, its exact origins are not 100% certain.
Lost to the mysteries of time.
Lost to the annals.
We have ancient cave drawings of primitive stick figures with arm extended, hand in elbow, face in elbow.
Right. So if you haven't seen the dab before, if you're unaware, it looks like somebody is sneezing politely. Like, you know how you sneeze into the crook of your elbow, and like you have to have that like head downward motion. It's just that the opposite arm is like up in the air, like extended, which is basically what Casey described. He performed it maybe a little better than he described it. So this dance move, which is not unlike a polite sneeze, originated in Atlanta as part of the hip hop scene in the dance clubs and such. Which, of course, I know a lot about the underground Atlanta hip-hop scene.
Oh, I don't know hip-hop, like, very well.
No, it's fine. I don't know a ton either. It probably started in 2013. That seems to be the consensus, is that 2013 is about when the dab popped up in the first place.
That's the first time somebody crooked their elbow and looked in it and just thought, this is it.
This is the dance.
I'm going to stick my face in there.
Right.
And someone's like, damn, that's cool. Okay, carry on.
Anyway, so there are a few different groups or individuals that may be responsible for it. It's kind of a controversy, like exactly who it was. But there's a group called Migos that has been given some popularity. Has been given some credit for creating it, and we'll talk about them again in a minute. A guy named Jose Guapo, a guy named Pee Wee Longway, a guy named Rich the Kid, and a guy named Skippa da Flippa. And Skippa da Flippa is likely the actual creator. A couple of different people seem to corroborate his version of events, mostly. So he's probably the creator, but just I guess nobody really knows that for sure. Rich the Kid that I mentioned is often given credit because he is featured in a video that's had over 2 million views on YouTube, wherein he teaches you how to dab. And it was a video created by hotnewhiphop.com. So there is some confusion also over where the name came from exactly. The rapper Bow Wow actually made a video where he was like basically making fun of people who were saying that they were dabbing, because dabbing is like the dance, like I am dabbing and like doing the dance, but also dabbing is like a method of smoking marijuana, that it's like concentrated THC. It's like the stuff that makes you high. So it's...
So you're telling me music was associated with drug culture?
I know. You're shocked. I can see it. This must be really hard for you to hear.
Yes.
But like, he took a lot of flack for that video. A lot of people said that like that's not actually where the name comes from. Like they can use the same name and be completely different things. So while he's right that dabbing is this particular method of smoking marijuana, it doesn't really have anything to do with the dance. And a lot of people got mad at Bow Wow for saying that you're dabbing while doing the dance is stupid, because you don't know that dabbing is a weed thing. Anyway, so moving back to Migos, the group that I mentioned before, they are a Georgia-based hip-hop group, and they're one of the groups that got some credit for potentially creating the dab. But the dab came out like back in 2013, and Migos made this song in 2015 called Look at My Dab. And it was pretty popular. It got to number 87 on the Billboard Hot 100. And like literally the whole music video is just like people with like flashing lights, like just dabbing like the whole time in like both directions.
Is the song any good?
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay. Does it? Because what was that one? Is that Watch Me Whip?
Yeah, Watch Me Whip.
Oh, that
Watch
song
Me Nay
blew.
Nay.
That song sucks. Like I don't care about the dance. It's fine. I'm good. Whoever produced, I don't even know, but good for them for making theirs. Fine. And if you're into that, great. But that song sucks.
I kind of like it.
Oh, it's so bad. Anyway, I'll have to listen to this.
Yeah, we'll listen to Look at My Dab like after we're done recording or something.
Bop, bop, bop,
yeah, now you're just being annoying.
Yeah, that's the song.
Helpful.
Stupid nay.
Anyway, so that song came out in late 2015. I forgot to write down the exact date, but I think it was like September or November of 2015. It was somewhere in there. And then Cam Newton comes in because on November 15th of 2015, he scored a touchdown against the Tennessee Titans, and he dabbed like for an extended period of time. Like he just kept dabbing. And like even when the guys on the Titans were like, dude, you got to stop that. Like apparently he just kept like walking backwards and like continuing to dab.
So what does one hold the pose continuously, or do you switch arms? Is there movement? How dynamic is the dab supposed to be?
The dab seems pretty dynamic. It's not just like you do it and then you hold it, unless you're posing for a picture, which whatever. But yeah, but like you can like you dance and you dab at like different times. It's not just like a dab and then I hold it forever. Like I'm sure you can do that, so but it seems to be you're moving around.
So more. You can move your feet. You can do like an Irish jig, do a river dab.
Probably not. Please do not do a river dab.
Okay.
That is a strange amalgamation of culture. I'm not sure how to feel about that. Anyway, he did that celebration, and then people kept asking him. He got asked at a press conference where it came from, and he said that some random 16-year-old told him that he should dab on them folks. Like, that's the actual quote that the 16-year-old told to Cam Newton, that he told to the press to dab on them folks. And so he's like, well, that's what I did. I dabbed on them folks. And later it came out that the 16-year-old was Cam's younger brother, Kalen, that taught him to dab on them folks. I apologize right now for how white I am talking about this topic.
So some teenager just told his brother, who just happens to be a famous MVP caliber quarterback.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. And I have to say, I chose this topic specifically because usually I'm really up on general pop culture type things. And I have been aware of the dab for almost a year because I'm a junior high teacher and my students do it all the time. They do it when they sneeze, actually. They, like, purposefully dab. Or, like, when they get a right answer in class, they'll dab. Or when they're posing for a picture, they'll dab. If somebody says, like, a really great burn in class, they'll dab.
Yeah, it goes back to, like, Casey and the Sunshine Band, do a little dab, make a little love.
No. You're just, you and the puns tonight. I just don't know how to handle it. But my mom asked me where the dab came from, and I had no idea. So I figured it would be a really good topic, because I figured you would be even less likely to know the origins than I was. So shout out to my mom for the inspiration on the topic this week.
That's cool, though. I didn't know Cam Newton was literally the broad pop culture ambassador for the whole phenomenon.
Yeah, basically. Like, it was kind of becoming popular because, like, some random celebrities were doing it, and then apparently Cam Newton is just sort of the catalyst for it becoming meme-level interest.
So, but because olds like us are talking about it, so now the kids soon have to think it's no longer cool.
Pretty soon they're going to get to that point. So, but, like, we're still at the point that, like...
So we're riding the crest of this wave.
Well, like, when my students ask me to dab and I do it, they're, like, amazed for some reason that I can, like, put my arms into that very simple position and drop my head down into the crook of my elbow. Yeah. Like, that's amazing for them. And I don't know why, but as long as they still think it's cool, I'm gonna keep doing it randomly.
What if you bust out, like, a Charleston in front of them?
The thing that you're doing is not the Charleston.
What is that? Where you cross arms and knees?
That's just crossing arms and knees is just like, it's like a crisscross. Like, I don't actually know exactly what that's called, but it's definitely not the Charleston.
Really?
Really.
Well, I've been badly misinformed.
I'll show you a video of the Charleston, but it's totally different. Anyway, that's it for this week on Not Quite Right. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at NQR_podcast.
I like that we had a sort of a thematic, like an actual thematic arc through this episode, and it wasn't something like the dab and genocide or something awful like that.
Yeah, well, our topics have not matched very well the last couple of episodes.
Yep.
But that's okay, because here we are bringing you NFL information all through the entirety of our podcast.
Stay tuned in a couple weeks when we're going to talk about, yard signs and genocide.
Please leave us a review, subscribe, all that good stuff, so that Casey doesn't have to scold you next week on our podcast like he did today.
Yeah, we're looking to monetize this.
Are we really? Like,
yeah.
I guess that would be cool.
Look,
like, cover the cost.
Look, we're going to make this huge. We're going to go head-to-head with a big podcast. We're going to release on a Friday schedule.
But we're not on a Friday schedule. We're on a Monday schedule.
We're going to go to a Friday schedule.
I like the Monday schedule.
Look, if God wanted podcasts to be on Monday, then he would have, I don't know.
But our movie blog is on a Friday schedule.
This is going to be, I'm sort of trying to channel the stuff that Trump said about you. Anyway.
I know. It's precious.
Okay.
So, again, Twitter at NQR_podcast. Subscribe. Review. And don't hold it against us that Casey sang a theme song or that he impersonated Trump today.
Okay, bye.
Bye.